I'm in the beautiful Rocky Mountains somewhere in Colorado. I'm checking out the new Outrider. This is 2016 Alpha 420L. And the 420, at first I was like, we're in Colorado. Like, does that, is this some sort of a fun reference? But actually, so this is the base model in terms of battery capacity. And 20, that's sort of referencing the battery level. You could have a 430 or a 440. So right now it has two of these 48 volt, 23 points, was it 20? Yeah, 23.2 amp hour battery packs in there, two of them. So, you know, you're up at like 46 plus amp hours at 48 volts. Pretty intense, and obviously you've got a lot of storage space in this huge, what would you call this?
That's an aluminum monocoque chassis.
Aluminum monocoque chassis. See, I've got the experts here. This is Zach Thomas. You work with Outrider, and you actually designed this. Is that right?
Yeah. I was one of 3 engineers who brought this to reality.
To life, yeah. Sharing the praise. That's awesome, man. The last time I was checking this out, I think I was in North Carolina.
Yeah, we're in Fletcher, North Carolina.
Fletcher, North Carolina, at the headquarters. It's really, it's a similar concept. High speed, excellent range, lots of gears, belt drive, like there's all this cool technology, and it just feels like it's been refined a lot. You know, the seat is the first thing I noticed. This is more custom than before, and I think it's adjustable forward to back, it slides. Same with the boom. You were saying there's like 6 inches of travel on that?
Yeah, to adjust for different heights for riders. Yeah.
Really get that fit right. I'm all about comfort, so when I was riding on this thing, I was feeling it, and it was like, yeah, this is nice. It feels durable. It's vented, so you know you get some cooling going on, but it kind of curves back and it sort of hugs your shoulder area. And you said there's even an optional headrest piece, right?
Yeah, from ICE. Yeah, makes it a lot more comfortable. You can kind of rest your head back while you're riding.
Yeah, I love that. And then of course safety. That's something I'm always commenting on. You've got this nice whip LED. Kind of like it's almost like a flagpole, but it's lit up, so that way cars and things can see you because you're a little bit lower.
Exactly, it makes for great visibility as well.
Absolutely. You are an engineer, right? So, you know, we're talking about mechanical engineering here, but I'm hoping you can give me some perspective on a recumbent versus an upright bike in terms of drag and efficiency.
Well, it's a lot more efficient for several reasons. The first is that you're lower to the ground, and one of the reasons that I was really drawn to recumbent is the stability involved in it. So you're not dealing with the balance aspect of riding the bike all the time.
Yeah.
It kind of leaves you more free to be engaged in your environment and kind of paying attention to what's going on around you.
Yeah.
And for an electric platform, there's nothing more stable than that.
Sure.
So we can get a lot more power, and you don't have to worry about the balance aspect while you're applying power at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes for a really good combination.
So yeah, you get less drag. You're going to get to go a little bit further, depending on your body, how well it's holding up. You know, I have kind of back and neck issues and stuff, and I'm often commenting on how I like electric assist in general, because then I don't necessarily have to strain my legs. This is going to offer that, but it's going to offer a bunch more options. The 420, 430, 440 Alpha, that one, you know, it's definitely geared more for like high performance on-road.
Right, yeah. This is primarily an on-road model for us, and it can do some light off-road. You know, it's got full suspension all the way around.
That's what I was going to say. Like, since the last time, not only the seat, but check this out. You're going to have RockShox Monarchs, 2 of those up front, and then there's one for this kind of swing arm in the back right there. It's adjustable, so you got a little bit of rebound and stiffness adjustment. Only the Horizon had that before, and that for me, that was a huge upsell. It was like, dude, you know, even if you're not on trails like we are right now, the concrete, you know, there's cracks and stuff over time.
Yeah, and
that kind of wears on you. This definitely smooths it out.
I kind of look at the old model as like an old Porsche, very stiff, very performance oriented, and this is more like more Tesla-like. It's designed for comfort, it's designed for everyday use, and to make those long journeys a little easier.
And utility. Okay, so I want to hit some of there's so many things to talk about. It's fun to chat with you, but let me, you know, we were talking about safety before with the tail whip. SKS fender in the back, going to keep you dry and everything. If we come up to the front, I think before there were optional fenders for the front. Is that still?
There were. We're not doing optional fenders for the front anymore.
People were just like, nah, I don't get the, you know, because you're kind of.
We didn't really. There wasn't much of a market for them, and truthfully, they kind of got in the way, and they were kind of cumbersome, and they were actually very loud.
The rattling, yeah.
Exactly.
I noticed this sounded quieter. You know, that said, you do have kind of a wing, like you hear the motor. There's definitely a presence with this, but it's connected to a belt drive.
Right.
Over here. Is this the Gates carbon?
Yeah. So we're actually using, it's a company called Mitsubishi, but it is a carbon belt drive just like Gates uses.
Okay.
But we use a different tooth profile, so the torque holding is much better.
So you don't get the slipping.
Exactly. There's no belt slip. Even when the belt is out of adjustment, it still won't slip.
That's probably really important with, you know, you have the other models. You got the Horizon, and then there's the Nomad, which is higher torque. So you're, tell me about how you're converting power on this one.
Sure. So on on the Alpha 4 Series, we're using an Astroflight 3220 that's been customized for us with active cooling.
Yeah, that's this fan intake right here.
Exactly. So that's always running. That's always keeping the motor temperature in check. So it'll automatically turn down the motor power if it gets too hot. So we're running at about 12,000 RPMs in the top electronic gear for this, and that's coupled to this German-made planetary gearbox, which reduces our output from 5 turns at this motor to 1 turn at the output.
5 to 1.
Exactly.
Versus the Nomad,
which is a 9 to 1.
9 to 1.
And the Horizon is a 15 to 1.
15 to 1. So again, this one's very speed oriented. And when I was pedaling it, I noticed it's like you have to kind of get up to 4 miles per hour plus before the motor starts, and that's to preserve, I guess, not to overheat it, not to strain it.
Not to strain the motor too hard.
Okay.
And that keeps the motor kind of at its happiest point.
Yeah.
You don't have to push it too hard, and that builds up heat early, and so.
So with that said, what is the top achievable speed with one of these 4 Series?
We list 45 miles an hour on
45 miles per hour. So how do you classify this? I mean, it has pedals, and while we're on the topic, 11-speed Shimano Alphine internally geared hub, so you can shift at standstill, and it uses electronic shifting. That's a new upgrade. Up here, you've got the Shumpf Drive. So there's this little silver piece. You kind of click it with your heel, and I think it's, what were you saying? It's like you go from 42 teeth to like
100 teeth.
100 teeth.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you can keep up.
Exactly. You can still add power at 45 miles an hour, so you're not just there spinning your feet enjoying the ride. You can still add power and get some exercise at the same time.
Yeah. So back to like, how do you classify this? I have a motorcycle license, and sometimes you can actually you can put a little plate on or something like that.
Well,
but
we've had several customers registered in North Carolina as a moped, so it's definitely an option. But it ships at a 20-mile-an-hour top speed.
Okay, so class 2.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what's the watting rate on the motor then? Is that 750?
Yeah. So in the 20-mile-an-hour low range mode, it's 750 watts. So.
But if you want to go what's the high? What's the peak output?
On this model, we can do up to 4,200 watt peak output.
4,200 watt. Okay, it's very similar to the old Alphas that I saw.
Yeah,
Just seems like
it's actually the exact same wattage as our old Alphas. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And the other ones that I saw, they had like a yellow one. It was just off the production line, and this one we've kind of got a gray, and then there's this matte. What were you calling this? The
that's
texture?
wrinkle black powder coat.
Wrinkle black powder coat. Yeah. Is this the folded aluminum that you were talking about?
Yeah. So most of our chassis is all folded aluminum, and so we have that done in North Carolina, and then we have it powder coated at a local powder coating shop in Asheville. And it's very heavy duty. It's all designed exactly for us, and our main enclosure is also folded aluminum. And powder coated. This is a stock color.
Where's the chromoly steel? We talked about some of the parts being steel.
So both the front and the rear end are all 4130 chromoly.
Right here.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's for rigidity and flexibility. And then if you overstress the frame member, it will rebound to its original shape.
Interesting.
So you can be really rough to it, and it's going to handle it pretty well.
Good to know.
Adds a little bit of weight, but it makes it much more robust.
Weight. We were talking about how the weight has gone up a little bit compared to before, like 110.
Yeah. We were at 102 pounds, I think, was our normal weight, and we're at 117 now.
Okay.
But we get a lot more for our weight these days. So,
excellent.
More battery capacity, some new electronics, and a new motor setup.
So the charging is another area that might have added some weight. You have a new onboard charger.
Right. Yeah, we're using a 1,000-watt onboard charger from Meanwell. And so it's actually with you all the time, and all you have to do is carry this standard power cable with you, and you can plug it into any normal 15-amp outlet, and it'll charge at about 1,100 watts.
Wow. So we're talking like a couple hours or something.
Yeah, actually we did some math, and it's about 1 minute on the charger is roughly equivalent to 1 mile of range.
Wow.
So you could stop and have lunch and kind of top off and keep going.
That is spectacular. And I hope I'm not misthreading this.
Oh, no, that's right.
There's another one on the other side, and you said that's for venting because it is charging so fast that
it builds a lot of heat when you're doing it, so you have to remove both sides. So there's a small sensor in there as well. So if you don't remove both charge caps, it actually won't charge. Oh. So you'll have to remove it and depress that switch.
And that's like a kill switch kind of thing.
There's
cool,
a little finger in there.
Dude.
Yeah.
This is really clever.
Yeah, and so that whole charger is also what's called conformally coated. So that's a plastic coating on the circuit board of the charger, so that if you're somewhere damp or it's raining outside while you're charging, you're not going to compromise the integrity of the charger.
Can you tell me a little bit about the control center here? Like, this is the ignition, so you know, if you turn that, it would turn on. Probably have to have the cap on for that.
So this is a great point to talk about the modularity of our new bikes.
Okay.
So before, everything was kind of bolted onto KMX's chassis.
Yeah.
We'd buy a frame from them and we'd bolt our electronics to it. So when we designed this new bike, we wanted to make it as modular as possible. So this, what we call the doghouse, is the main interface for all the electronics outside of the bike. So our motor temperature, our speed sensors, everything comes through these connections at the back here.
Wow.
So that if anything ever gets damaged, all we have to do is send you the replacement cable and you can swap it out. So all the electronics come in and out of the bike here, and that's where the key switch
And that,
goes.
I love that you can actually take the key out. So in a sense that no one really can tamper with this.
Right, exactly. And when the bike is on, you can't remove the key switch from the switch, so that you don't have to worry about losing the key while you're riding.
We were talking about the seating position on this. You know, your body's kind of back in your pockets and stuff. Change can fall out of your pockets.
It's a phone killer for certain.
It can be. It can definitely be a phone killer.
That's why you always have a little pan in your bag with you.
That's right. Yeah, I just set it right over there. In fact, I might grab it. These guys have a ton of accessories and optional upgrades and stuff. And one of them is like these, I think it's Axiom, or were you saying Arkel?
Arkel Orca is our new...
The Arkel Orca. But yeah, it kind of clips onto the bottom there, and then these kind of set on there. So it's, you know, nice. This is custom, but this must be a pannier blocker.
Yep.
Kind of meant to keep the belt drive area clear, and then the fan.
Yep.
There's a shelf right here, and there's some other mounting points that you could use for maybe a trunk bag.
Yeah, Arkel makes a really nice trunk bag that we use, and then there's also some turn signals you can mount, additional whip mounting options.
Turn signals, so that's part of the whole like DOT thing. If you're going to be a moped.
That's kind of on the way. You know, that's not fully developed yet.
Okay.
But it's we can talk about it.
Awesome.
So it's not too far out.
Okay. The other thing that I noticed, Zach, is that you've got these other blockers up here. These are really cool. At first I was like, what's going on? You know, there's these shields right next to the disc brake rotors, and you were like, well, hey, if you stop and you get off the bike and you bump that, you're going to have some nice tattoos, some branding going on your
Yeah, I've got
cabs.
one myself, and so that brought about the rotor burn guard, so just another level of safety, you know.
Rotor burn guard. That's very cool. And then as far as steering, you know, you kind of, I guess as you're adjusting these upright handlebars, they come along here, they turn the wheels, and you were talking about sway bars, and then this whole front end's kind of changed with the suspension. You want to walk me through it, the technicals?
Yeah, so this is kind of one of the key elements of our redesign is the full suspension. We heard a lot about that from our previous Alpha owners, and really worked hard to bring this to market. So this is all 4130 chromoly as well.
Okay.
We've got two control arms here linked by this large upright.
There we go.
And we've got a nice 200 millimeter shock nested in there, and this large hardened sway bar. And that'll keep the bike level as you go through a corner, but still allow the suspension to articulate.
I see.
And so it'll provide a nice, smooth, stable ride as you go down the road. And then
what brakes are we using? These are the 180 millimeter Shimano hydraulic, but
XTs. Yep.
XTs.
Yep. And they're actually, they have heat sinks on the pads as well,
that.
so that your brake life, even under heavy loading, is still, the brakes are going to be there when you need them.
Okay, well, while we're looking at the wheels, it seems like all of the kind of the wheels and the rims and the tires are the same on this one. They're all 20 inches. It's a hookworm, 20 by 1.95. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, it's pretty nice. They're definitely this tread pattern. I think it's similar to what we had before, where there's good rolling. You know, not a lot of knobs going on. Right. This one isn't quite the off-road setup.
We're not looking for a lot of traction. We're looking for good rolling resistance, and these are Kevlar belted as well to help prevent flats.
That's key. Yeah, so you don't end up taking it off-road. So, and then the grips, you were talking about them being kind of like silicone flat. They're designed, along with the seat, maybe not to absorb water. So
right, everything's closed cell foam, so if it gets wet, just this top layer will get wet, and that's a neoprene layer.
Yeah.
And so it'll dry out very quickly. So the bike is fairly watertight as well. So if you got it out in the rain, it really wouldn't be a problem.
And it comes stock with some side mirrors here. While I was on this, I was also appreciating that you've got these little chain covers. And that you've got this little rubber kind of, I don't know, it's I've seen this on cars before for like mufflers and stuff, where something's mounted to a little piece of rubber and it just kind of gives it a little bit of movement.
Yeah, it kind of softens up. It keeps the chain noise a little quieter.
Yeah.
And we're using what's called UHMW, ultra high molecular weight plastic.
Wow.
For very long chain tube life.
Okay.
So that'll keep grease off your pants, it'll keep the chain noise down,
right,
and make the chain last a little longer.
Jeez, awesome, man. This is very, very cool. Other things that I noticed before was that you've got, like, I guess this is like chain tensioner down here.
Yep.
That's the Shimano Alphine. And then this, I was like, wow, it looks like a Nautilus or something. And you were saying, oh, well, that's an adjustment for belt tightness, and that there's even, I guess there's one on each side, but there's a tool like built right onto this swing arm.
So
and
it just takes these thumb nuts to come off.
So you can just easily spin those off anytime, and then it interfaces back here, you're saying, with the...
So in the event that you had to change the tire, the tool is all right here to drop the cams and take the wheel off. And then, you know, once you put it back on, you'll have to adjust the belt tracking and tension.
Right.
And you'll just use that tool to give these a couple extra clicks, and they'll come marked from us right where they need to be.
Wow.
So you won't have to do anything. You'll just put them right back where they belong. And
we're seeing more belt drives on some electric bikes, and people are like, oh, I want that bike, but I want it with the belt drive. And you have to have kind of like the cutaway frame, or in this case, like the swing arm. So
right. It makes it kind of complicated to engineer, but it's so attractive because there's hardly any maintenance. It's a lot quieter. With the carbon fiber stranded belts that we use, there's no belt stretch. So once you set it, that's kind of the end of it.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say about the motor back here? And just, I'm used to, you know, it's like a geared hub or a gearless hub, and in this case it seems more like a canister drive kind of thing.
Yeah, so this is kind of in between a geared hub and a gearless hub. This is kind of a mid-drive, and we go straight from the motor into a reduction gearbox, which is made by a very high-end German company. And that's good for holding that 4,200 watts and reducing it into something useful at the rear wheel.
Yeah, and we were talking about how they each have like kind of a different reduction setting, and that this one's meant for high speed. I guess just the motor itself it's curious to me. We were talking about how much it weighs. I think you said 6 pounds.
It's 6 pounds, and
super
it puts
light.
out about 6 horsepower. For being so light, it's a very, very good power to weight density ratio.
That's spectacular. Well, maybe we can screw that back on right here, and then just hop into the controls and maybe the display interface and stuff. I noticed you're using the Cycle Analyst, looks like version 3 up here. That's pretty popular. It gives you a lot of great feedback and readouts about even system temperature, but your voltage, your speed, all of that. And that's probably, I don't know, it's probably one of the more advanced displays that I've seen. I think it's backlit too.
Yeah, it is also backlit. And we spent a lot of time working with Gren getting that to where it needs to be. So.
Yeah, shout out to Justin, right?
Yeah, Justin's been an immense help in getting this thing done. And so what they've done for us actually is we've reduced all of our output cables into a single one and added this state indicator LED.
Oh yeah.
And I'll get to that in just a moment. But essentially it's a standard cycle with our own programming.
And well, yeah, let's see here. We'll get the cap on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the pedals too before we do that. So we got Origin 8. They're clipless ready, so you could get, you know, just some cycle shoes. I would recommend that. You know, I've been pedaling around just using my tennis shoes, and you know, it's easy to kind of get outpaced by this thing, especially if you're operating in high speed. And just keeping your feet on track is probably a good thing. Being able to adjust that boom is key, and even dialing in the seat. Like, comfort's a really big deal for me, and you know, you could really use this like a vehicle to get around town. I think we were talking about the range. If you go for the larger battery capacity, if you double it, it's like 120,
up to 180, and you know, like any vehicle, it depends on how you treat it.
Yeah.
If you're in a big truck and you have the hammer down all the time, you're not going to get great gas mileage, but at about 20 to 25 miles an hour, you can expect between 160 and 180 miles of range.
That's spectacular. That's spectacular, and with a lot of carrying capacity back there. So back up to the Shumpf Drive, I wanted to call it, I really like that you've got kind of a chain guide just to keep that on track, along with the little plastic pieces over there. Maybe I'll sit down on this thing and we can, you know, hopefully it's easy to see. It's kind of bright today. So to get on it, you kind of straddle the boom, put your hand down on one of the tires like this, and now you're in the cockpit position. This is the electronic shifting we were talking about before, and because it's internally geared, you can shift at standstill. And that's awesome to me, because sometimes you have to stop unexpectedly. This is relatively heavy, and it's nice to be able to give your knees a break and just start out at a lower gear. Same with the Shumpf Drive. So right now I'm in kind of the easier 42 tooth setup, and if I go click like that, now I'm up into like the 100 and, what were you saying, 100?
It's like 102 tooth.
102 teeth, yeah, so that's just really cool. I like that. And then right here we have the Alphine display where it shows kind of the battery for it. It's a separate battery. Do you know where that is?
Actually, no, it's not a separate battery.
It's not a separate battery.
It runs off of our battery packs.
Did you do that custom?
We did that, yeah.
Good job.
Thank
I've
you.
seen sometimes where it's completely separate. I think the Stromer ST2 is a good example of that.
Right, and we looked at that, and we, you know, you're going to go out riding, you're going to forget to charge it, and then you can't use the gear system. And so we went through the extra effort to engineer a solution to power their system off of our packs.
Good job. And it's kind of backlit too, so you know, it's a little smaller when you get back here, but it's been readable for me. And then the electronic shifting is cool. So just going through the steps, we would come back here. Here's a little key. Turn it to kind of back towards the back. It says Cycle Analyst version 3. It says 47.4 volts, so we're fairly charged. Then over here it's saying mile per hour. We're not moving at all right now. And then temperature, degrees Celsius. What else can we do? What do these buttons do right here?
So we can go through and we can see our efficiency. So we can scroll through and we can find watt hours per mile.
Cool.
So we've been running it pretty hard during our test ride, so our efficiency is down.
Yeah.
You can expect between 35 and 40 watt hours per mile
Okay.
under normal loads, and then up to 50 depending if you're really hammering it wherever you're going. And you can cycle through and kind of see, you know, the maximum amperage that you've drawn. So 90 amps on this, we peak at 100. And then you can kind of see your total mileage and your trip mileage. So we've got 26 miles on the bike at the moment because it's a brand new bike.
Yeah.
And you can see the charge cycle counts and total amp hours consumed.
Wow.
And then you can see what the throttle voltage in and out is, and then back to the main display again.
How much are replacement batteries? Like, you know, this has 2 of those cells from All Cell, you were saying,
Right,
made in
yeah,
America.
Yeah, made
That's
in
pretty
America.
cool.
That's really important to us. So we went through the extra steps to engineer our new batteries that have integrated battery management systems. They're about $1,500 off the shelf. If you buy the additional battery packs at the time you get the bike, it'll be a lot cheaper. So that's the way we recommend it. But you can actually upgrade the battery packs later.
Okay.
But it does have to come back to us for that.
That's cool. Yeah, we were talking about shipping and stuff too. How does that work? If you buy this, you buy it online from you guys?
Yeah,
and
you can
ship
either
it?
buy it online or give us a call, and we can work something out to get the financial side of it done. But we can ship it straight to your door anywhere in the United States or even globally.
Wow.
For an
Okay.
additional fee.
Yeah, and this, I mean, it's not a cheap bike at all. Like this thing, I think it's like $15,000 the way that we're looking at it right now, up
Correct.
to like $22,000.
Yeah, fully loaded, you can hit about $20,000. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, that's part of it. So it's nice that there's a range there, and with all the upgrades that you offer, and that it's so custom. Last time we talked about this bike, so much of it was being made in America and was kind of custom. Can you give me some feedback on that?
Yeah, so we're still about 85% made in America. It's actually very difficult to source cycle components that are made in the United States.
Yeah, right, like the shocks and stuff.
The shocks and the wheels and the brakes and tires, that's all stuff that we've kind of had to compromise, but the main chassis, all the electronics, the battery, the motor, all made in the United States.
And the
then-
team's grown so much. I think since the Kickstarter was successful for the was it the Horizon?
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2014.
Yeah, I think there
Congrats.
were three people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've grown from 3 people to 8 people now.
Wow.
And so yeah, we've definitely turned up a lot of knobs in the shop, and
you're delivering some. That's why you're in Colorado.
Yeah.
Like, you're delivering some of these bikes to actual customers, and you're
Yeah.
going to a special event?
Right, we're going to No Barriers this weekend, which is an adaptive sports festival. And when we designed this bike, part of our primary motivation was to bring biking back to paraplegics and quadriplegics.
Yeah.
And so we've designed a lot of additional features that allow people who are differently able to ride again.
Yeah, that's spectacular. And this one, I guess it's designed for people who are more full-bodied, abled.
able-bodied.
You've got the able-bodied. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to get the, you got to use your arms to steer, use your feet to pedal and stuff. So it's a recumbent, just a really awesome fast recumbent and long range. Again, I'm emphasizing fast because I think that's part of it with this one. Again, the Nomad's a little more high torque. With that said, I mean, I feel like I've covered a few things. This display, I don't think it's as easy to remove, right?
Right, yeah, it doesn't come off very easily.
Let me talk like crap about this bike for a second, okay? Can't remove the display. No bottle cage mounts. Maybe someday, do you think it would fit right here?
Yeah, we've got provisions.
We talked about it. Yeah, I mean, it can be done, but yeah.
It's true. Truthfully, it got overlooked. We were so busy engineering all the other features, we forgot about some simple stuff.
This is like integrity right here. I appreciate you acknowledging that, like, hey, we're not perfect. We're working on it. It's come so far since I last saw it. And look, you got the hanging panniers. You got the kind of the saddlebag thing, and you could run a little, I don't know, what are those called? The little hydro pack thing.
Oh yeah, like
is
a
that what you do?
camelback. Yeah. I use a camelback in a little rack top bag, and that works quite well.
The bike's heavy, doesn't fit on most bike racks.
Yeah, it is hard to transport sometimes.
Yeah, no quick release, which I don't know if you do.
We had a quick release, but it's just this one bolt here.
Okay.
So if you loosen that bolt, you can pull the spindle out, and the whole wheel will come off.
Yeah, because we were talking about repairs and stuff, and when something's heavier like this, or as we get into the adaptive, accessible bikes, it's like, what do you do if you're way out there and you need some help? Hopefully, you've got gear with you. Love the safety. You can see it lit up right now. That's pretty bright, and it does come in several colors. You pay a little extra. The standard one is white. I'm trying to think, like, the shocks have really addressed one of my primary concerns, which was just that you feel it. I feel it, at least in my back and neck and stuff. And now with you've got the headrest and the shocks, it really helps. What else? I mean, what are areas of improvement? This is your chance.
Okay, well, so the biggest thing that I'm excited about is our 2-speed electronic gearbox.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a big development for us. There's not really been anything like this on the market before. And so this small control panel up front here, We've added an arm disarm button, so you can't really activate the bike while it's sitting in a standstill without disarming the bike.
Okay.
So if you look at the LED up there, I'll go and arm it.
Oh,
so it goes blue. Yeah. And so this is the low range of the bike. So this is good to about 25 miles an hour. But what's great is you get 4,200 watts across that whole range of acceleration. And once you get to the top, you'll press this blue button.
Yeah.
It'll shift it into high range mode, which is designed more for speed than torque. And so that'll get you from that lower number up to 45 miles an hour.
It almost reminds me of like the Shumpf gear thing. So you've got like the, you know.
That's exactly it. It's essentially like an electronic Shumpf drive, so that you can apply the power in, you know, either torque or speed where you need it, and you can change that on the fly with this button.
For all our really technical viewers, can you give me like the square sine wave thing you were talking about? Like,
so it does have to do with how we set up the 3-phase motors, and so we're changing how we set up the 3-phase on the fly, and so that kind of gives us an option to apply torque or RPM to the rear wheel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And frankly, I like how clean the cockpit is. And this, just manufacturing and engineering this little part right here to be so easy to reach just with your thumb while you're riding right next to the gear shifting was impressive to me. And then this is the twist throttle. So if you twist it, it goes. One of the other trade-offs with the 4 Series, because it is designed to go faster, because the motor's set up to be higher RPM, it's not stepped down as much, you have to pedal up to that 4 miles per hour, as I mentioned earlier. Just, it's kind of keeping that in mind. It can be heavy. I definitely shifted down on the Shumpf, shifted down on the gears, and then I was like, okay, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
But the 20-inch wheels, you know, that kind of empowers you because they're smaller diameter, so you get a little bit of a
torque advantage. Yeah, exactly. And so you can still pedal it without any electric power. It's definitely more of a workout. You know?
Yeah, you know, it takes some effort, but you know, it's worth it. It's definitely cool. And I love all the branding and stuff. You've got like the Outrider right here and the Alpha and down here on the side. And is this the part that gets painted, or can the whole frame be painted?
If you were going to choose a custom color, it would just be the aluminum monocoque that gets painted your custom color.
Like this stuff back here.
Yeah, this is always going to be wrinkle black.
Wrinkle black, and then that box. Right. What do you call that?
That's our enclosure, or we call it our chassis in the shop.
Yeah, okay. And there's the adjustable, the seat stuff that we were talking about before, and you can see the plastic chain covers go all the way towards the back, so they aren't going to be rattling on top of that box.
And this is a stock color for us, so if you were to purchase this would be the standard color option.
Okay.
Which is a basalt gray.
Beautiful. Well, I think we've hit almost everything. A question I've had sometimes is like, okay, you've got 2 brakes, one on the left, one on the right, and they correspond to each disc brake. None on the back.
None on the back.
Do people flip these? Is there ever a problem with that?
You can't really flip it. You can get the back wheel to come up if you were just a dead stoppie.
Challenge accepted.
But truthfully, yeah, there's not really a need for it. The front brakes are more than adequate, and we actually use up the disc brake flange with our drive pulley.
I see.
So that is one of the reasons. I would love people to do handbrake turns on it.
That would be sweet. You were also talking about sliders. This thing has like little, we're not talking about food here. We're talking about these little, oh yeah, look at that.
So these are Delrin bash guards on the bottom, so if you were to bottom it out, it'd just slide. And then this big thick metal plate in the front. So if you were to hit something, it'll eat that up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Without damaging the bike.
Gee whiz, that's cool. And you talked about a 1-year comprehensive warranty and how you got, and this is so custom, it's like you end up working with people and trying to, they last. You get, right?
We haven't really had any issues, and what's been great is like each bike that comes through is so customized that we get to spend time talking to the customer and like figuring out exactly what they want. Yeah. I've got a bright orange one that's coming through right now. It's pearlescent orange and has a little whirligig flag coming off the
Really?
back.
So it like spins?
Yeah, it matches the paint job on the bike.
Dude, has anyone from Burning Man gotten one of these?
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's just a matter of time.
Especially now that the suspension, and we'll get into the other ones, right? I keep mentioning these other bikes. We've been talking for like a half hour right now. So there's tons to share about it. I think maybe it's time to just like hop on this thing.
Let's do it.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to, can you hop on it and like pedal it and kind of bring it back? Show how we move.
Well,
you pick up
I don't have my helmet.
Oh, you don't have your helmet on. Yeah, okay, that's a good point. I do. Okay. Always. Safety. So we'll get that set up and then we'll do a little ride test. Okay, Zach is back. He's got his helmet. Looking great, man. And the glasses, you need that, right? Because the air is like whoosh.
And particulate and junk from the road. Bugs.
You're a little bit lower. Yeah. So how do we do that? I got it here, right? And I just stopped it. So to move it, what do you like lift the back?
I just grab it by the rear tire here.
Walk it around. That's one of the other things I noticed. There's a limited steering radius on this. When you're on it, it stops. Like the handlebars, when you go all the way to one side, you're like, that's it. And it's pretty good. I was able to turn around in like a street width.
Yeah, pretty easily. So I think it's a 17 feet turning circle.
Okay.
So
17
turning
feet.
radius.
Appreciate that. I think now if you want to just hop on and
Yep.
maybe
Turn it on.
pedal it back. So we press the power button, got the flag. You can hear the fan going.
Okay, make sure we're in the right gear.
Yeah,
Engage.
get it into a low gear.
Okay, and then I'm gonna arm the bike.
Okay, just pedaling, getting some speed up. Yeah. See that suspension working. Beautiful day. You may be dealing with that turning radius right now. Have to hop off real quick because this isn't quite wide enough, or maybe doing a little bit of, you know, back and forth. Nice. That is the optional 1000 watt, 1000 lumen headlight, which is pretty nice. I've done some measurements and stuff, so back at the site in the full review, you can see how long this is, like the minimum length when you bring the boom in, how wide it is. It's designed to fit through a standard door opening, how tall it is, all that stuff. Should be pretty good. Yeah, there he's turning around. Even during the day, I mean, that's a really bright light. Putting those brakes to use. Nice. Okay, I want to hop on. I got to give this thing a try. So I've done it already a little bit. I'm pretty familiar. Just step over, put the hand down in the seat. I might have to do some downshifting. Are you in the lower gear right now?
I'm in the high gear on the Shumpf.
He's in the high gear, so I'll do the Shumpf Drive thing. Kind of pedal it backwards, then click my heel. There we go. We're already on, but otherwise I would have to hit the red button to get the blue activated. Red that's like a kill switch. Like
Right, that's like a safety on a gun, essentially. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. Get the gears, so I might shift down a little bit. I'm in 8 right now. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. I'm gonna start pedaling, and then I'm gonna twist. Here we go. Pedal, pedal, pedal. Shift up a little bit. Nice. Feels very smooth. It's quiet. Right now I'm just riding this like a bike. No problem. And now, give it a little bit of juice, and you can hear it. Whew. Pretty sweet. You can see some of the cracks in this trail even, kind of absorbing them nicely. Beautiful. Good steering. Whoa. Yeah, very tight. A little bit of squeal going on here. These guys have, traveled across the country with this, so it's mostly dialed in, but probably a little bit of tune-up wouldn't hurt. one of the other things I noticed, like as you're pedaling this thing, there's a little bit of chain drag because there's friction going all the way under you back there. And if you look at your feet, like when they pass this plastic thing, if they're inverted like mine tend to be sometimes, you can occasionally kind of catch it on the way up. I think I would really opt for like the click-in pedal types, but otherwise, I mean, it's really elegant. It's a nice thing, and again, the clip-ins are going to keep you from setting your feet down and, you know, dragging them or potentially getting them caught. But that's true of really any recumbent bike, so just worth considering. Well, I think that's about it. I've had a blast riding this thing. It seems like it has just a wide range of uses, whether you're at that 20 mile per hour, 750, using this more like a recumbent electric bicycle class 2, or you're taking it full speed, getting those 45 miles per hour and holding your own within traffic. Commanding a little bit more respect, getting there faster. It's a vehicle. This is really a lot closer to like a velomobile, and I appreciate that. Just definitely ride safe, check with your local laws and everything. For the full write-up on this and some of the other Outrider electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com, and they also shoot some videos, and they'll have some footage from this adaptive conference that they're going to, so check out their website as well.